straightforward for the committee. Okay, thank you, Ms. Moore, for bringing us live. The time is now 9:35 a.m. and I call to order the November 12th, 2022 meeting for LC Whitlow Stokes Community Freedom Public Charter School Board of Trustees meeting. Welcome to our board meeting. My name is Hoyt King and I am the board chair. Our board members present today are I'll leave this open for a verbal roll call.
Crystal Galladay is present.
Kira Orr present.
Carlos Bonner present.
Adina Ellis present.
Amy Richardson present.
Tracy Friedlander present.
Excellent. This is Hoyt King, as I said, and we are all virtual today. We constitute a quorum for today's meeting. The next item on the agenda is approval of the September minutes. Please review the minutes in the live binder, and I'll offer some time for folks to do that. Okay, how folks feeling? Have they had an opportunity to review it? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the September 22, 2022 minutes?
Can I make one adjustment? Hoyt, my name is spelled wrong in the list.
Okay.
Can we have that corrected, please?
Absolutely. Ms. Moore, you're on mute.
Because I don't have it in front of me, can you tell me what the correction should be?
It says AMY and
Just
I.
thank you. I actually just corrected it on today's minute, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Any other comments? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the September 2022 minutes?
I make a motion to approve the September meeting minutes.
Excellent. Can I get a second?
A second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the September minutes. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Let's have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the September board meeting minutes. For all those in favor, say aye.
Kira Orr, aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it, and the September meeting minutes have been approved. All right. That is going to take us to the next part of our agenda, which are the campus updates. Ms. Moore, Mr. Ewing Boyd and Mr. Caballero in the waiting room. You're on you're mute.
Don't see them. I just texted them because I think I asked them to be here a little bit later than now. So they're not in yet. We changed the agenda a couple of times I may have asked them to be here, but I think I asked them to be in at 9:45. So they're probably going to be here within 5 minutes. Is there something else we could do? Until-
Well, we can definitely be flexible.
Okay, thank you.
We have a little flexibility, for sure. Do we think do we think
I texted them. I texted them, and so they should be coming in, but I don't see them in the waiting room.
Okay. Do we have a hard stop for them at, I assume we have a hard stop for them at 10:45?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Are they on the agenda to come at 9:45?
I see it at 10.
They are
Then
on
I'm-
the agenda to come
Oh,
in.
Yeah,
that's
it
a
says
problem.
10.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion and move up some of the committee reports then?
I was just about to suggest that. I think that's it. I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why don't we, so we can kind of rearrange this a little bit until Mr. Ewing Boyd and Mr. Caballero are able to jump on, and we'll go until about 10 o'clock. Okay, and they should be there. They should be here by then. So why don't we, given that, we're going to start with some of the committee reports committee reports, I should say. Does everyone have access to the live binder? I think the answer might be yes. Anybody not have access to the live binder?
Hoyt, Mr. Ewing Boyd is in the waiting room.
Okay.
Shall I admit him now?
We are,
He was starting.
He
He's
was starting?
and
Okay.
Bobby is getting ready to come on. I just got a text from
Okay.
him.
okay,
So-
great.
Shall I admit him?
Well, so I'm okay with going back and starting them a little early.
Okay,
Any objections to that?
Just one quick
None.
question. Are we live on YouTube?
we
Our
are.
live stream.
Okay, cool. Just want to be sure. Thank you.
Should I admit Mr. Ewing Boyd?
Yes, please. Mr. Ewing Boyd, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm happy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for joining this morning, and thanks for starting a little earlier.
Not a problem.
We are okay. We're at your disposal, so we're looking forward to hearing your report for your campus update.
Wonderful. Thank you. Just a moment. Let me figure out how to get this.
And I'm sure you know this, Mr. Ewing Boyd, but we are live streaming.
Yes. Um, good morning. Good morning, all. Both the Board of Trustees here and the folks who are watching over live stream. I'm glad to give a quick overview of some of the things that have been happening at the campuses over the past couple of years. I want to make sure that you know who your presenters are. Mr. Bobby Caballero, my colleague, is the campus director at the Brookland campus. His email address is there on the screen. My name is Abdul Kareem Ewing Boyd. I'm the campus director at the East End campus. My email address is there as well. If there are questions or comments that you have that hold over after the presentation, please feel free to contact either or both of us. So quick overview. We're going to talk about some of the shared successes. We'll talk about successes at each of the campuses, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the shared challenges. But before we get into those things, I want to take a moment to give some context. We are still in the midst of both the COVID pandemic and its recovery. This has an impact on staffing, public service roles, including nursing, behavioral health, teaching, all of those things that have to do with direct service to the community. These were already roles where there was a dearth in staff. I've had conversations with folks at DBH and at Howard University School of Social Work, for instance. Not only are there not enough people in the field right now, there aren't enough people in the pipeline, right? People are not going to grad school for these roles. And so it does have an impact on staffing. There is the concern that as one of the most easily accessible faces of the state, there are, it's difficult for us to figure out how to balance the even more glaringly highlighted needs around equity in the community, and then also help to take care of our staff who are actually trying to do that work, and also have needs. The funding that has supported a lot of the ways that we have supported the community over the past couple of years has started to drop away. And so some of the ways that we have supported the community and have made our community stronger, we're having to figure out ways to continue to do that. All of this in the context of, there are changes in social norms about what is acceptable, what is allowable, what is just, both in terms of society in general, but then also, half of our students have not had, this is for half of our students, this is their first somewhat normal school year ever. And so dealing with the social and emotional needs of children in that context is a challenge in and of itself. All of these are things that we believe go to the heart of who we are as a school based on our mission statement, right? We're talking about what it means to create justice in a world. We're also talking about ways that we support students. We're not going to be able to be who we are unless we are focusing both on social justice and academic excellence. And so these are things that really speak to who we are as a school. So within that context, I want to talk about some of the successes that we have shared between the two campuses over the past couple of years. We have and have been building new partnerships that bring a lot to who we are as a school. For instance, we have a partnership with the French Embassy. Over the past year, Mr. Bobby and I and some other folks worked to create a partnership with the Washington Youth Orchestra Program to bring music instruction to our after-school programs. Bobby and I have reconnected with our partners at the Boston School International in Panama and with L'École Ultimilvestris in Martinique in preparation for the international study tours that we plan to start again this school year. We also have been deepening our partnership with the Howard University School of Education and with School Talk DC and their trainings around restorative justice practices. For instance, our LEA level leadership began a series of trainings with School Talk DC yesterday, so that we can start bringing some of our human resources and staff development work at the adult level, amongst staff in the school into line with restorative practices. And we have our partnership with the National Park Trust that is most obviously personified in Mr. Bobby, who serves on their board of they're not board of trustees, but he's one of the advisors for how the National Park Trust works. We have been able to bring back some of our signature events, the Taste of Stokes, which was a huge success. In partnership with National Park Trust, students canoed the Anacostia River. from both campuses. We went camping with students at both campuses last year. We have gone back to our overnight trip to the Hard Bargain Farm. The fall outing was a success across both campuses throughout a week at the end of October. And both campuses had our first day parades, which, we have not been able to do our parade in a couple of years. And so it was a really, really great thing to have our partners from DC Fire Emergency Medical Services come out and lead the parades at both campuses in the Brookland and East End neighborhoods. A lot of these partnerships are possible because of the strength of our PTO and PTA. The East End PTO and the Brookland PTA have been partnering not only with the campuses, but with one another to bring about a lot of strong community work. And we're really very, very happy about those partnerships in particular. Also, our vision is to be recognized as a leader in urban education, and that recognition has been continuing apace. Councilmember McDuffie honored both the school's 25th anniversary and the school's founder with proclamations this legislative calendar. As I'm sure everyone knows, Miss Erica Bryant was knighted by France for her work in continuing the school's support of French education. And the Middle School Association recognized our early childhood education program as a program of distinction. This was the only school to get the program of distinction for early childhood education in this past calendar year. We are continuing to work towards social justice by focusing on equity. At both campuses, our partnership with Kindred has continued so that the equity team is still functioning over at Brookland, and dialogue groups have begun at East End. We'll talk about both of those individually in just a little bit. In terms of wellness, we have recommitted to restorative practices, responsive classrooms, and the Peace of Mind program. Our special education program has been building and strengthening. Our ABA classroom in particular has made great strides this past school year. And we have done even better in terms of our early identification of needs in the early childhood program. In terms of access, we are launching a new version of the website soon. This website was designed in consultation with a woman-owned, deaf-owned consulting firm that's going to help us make sure that our web access is designed with access and equity in mind, both around ADA and language accessibility. I was asked specifically that our Board of Trustees members please reach out to Carolyn Belcher-Hutton so that we get new photographs of each of our Board of Trustees members for the new website. So please reach out to Caroline as soon as you can with the headshot. At East End, we are in year 5, and I'm very, very happy with what is happening on campus, and I'm excited to share some of that with you. At East End, we have a Girl Scout troop that is continuing to grow. We also have brought in a partnership with Boy Scouts to do school time scouting program that is housed in the after school program on Fridays that is open to both girls and boys. There's also a program called Teensy that was put together by one of our former staff members who wanted to work with girls around girls empowerment. We have a partnership with both the University of the District of Columbia and Food Corps to do 4-H programming at the school. And we continue to work with Urban Education Squad around outdoor education. Also, we are co-located with the folks at the Maya Angelou Public Charter School, and we continue to partner with them around a lot of things that have to do with the broader community service. In particular, not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, the 22nd, we are hosting a pediatric immunization clinic along with Maya Angelou and the DC Department of Health in the gym at the school. so that we can help make sure that folks have their pediatric immunizations. We also continue our partnership with the Joyful Food Market through Martha's Table and Capital Area Food Bank. We've been able to give away literally tons and tons of groceries to folks in the community, in the East End neighborhood, and particularly at the school through Martha's Table and Capital Area Food Bank. And it is a partnership that I'm particularly excited about. We're happy that we are back to some of the things that we know and love about school community. Morning lineups are back live and in person, which means we get to do things like Talent Fridays again. So kids are able to show their DJ dancing and singing skills. Student written raps and songs are being performed. And also a couple of staff members are starting to share some of their talents as well. I'm gonna be sharing some paintings that one of our staff members did at our next Friday Talent Friday programs. The behavioral health team and the student life team have worked together to bring about a student ambassador program that is going to combine hosting. So when folks come to the school, students are leading them around. We'll have them doing peace coaching to help resolve conflicts with peers, and a couple of other things. So we're really excited about that. And we are looking forward to a live and an in-person Elsie Whitlow Stokes birthday winter concert and gallery after the very, very successful virtual one last year that highlighted not just our music program, but also the artwork that students do and the many ways that students participate in health and PE. The East End PTO not only maintained itself throughout the course of the pandemic, but it actually grew. And they transitioned from PTA to PTO with a specific interest in growing equity of access to the parent-teacher organization. And over the past couple of years, they have held several community building events. And so I'm very, very thankful for the East End PTO and its current executive board, which is strong and already doing great work. In terms of recognitions, you may have already heard about the CDC recognizing our last year's third graders, our current fourth graders, as the youngest research participants in the MAST 12 program. And so that was something that I was really, really happy about. Our students were not only able to involve themselves in real science, they were able to, help take care of themselves and their community. And so that's really great stuff. Also, the DC Federation of Civic Associations gave an award to me for community service. And as I explained to them at the acceptance, in my acceptance speech, that this really is an award for the work of the school. They just happened to see my face, but the work that went into the community service that they recognized is work that happened across the school, particularly our food services program and our operations programs that did a lot of work to make sure that the school was able to function as a hub for community service during the course of the pandemic. So our community work is something that we are very, very proud of. The Kindred has been partnering with East End to start parent dialogue groups and staff dialogue groups. We've already started working on our admin team on undertaking an equity challenge, and we look forward to sharing more about that in the future. We are partnered with DC Department of Behavioral Health and MBI to bring clinical supports to our already very ambitious behavioral health team at the school to serve not just students, but also staff and the parent community. And we are less than 1 percentage point away from meeting our goals for the family community meetings, where our staff members meet families in the community so that we have a way to really get to know them individually. All right. And so at this point, I want to pass it over to my colleague, Mr. Bobby Caballero, so he can talk some more about things happening at Brookland. So Bobby, if you're on, we're ready for you.
Thank you, Kareem. I appreciate it. Good morning. My name is Bobby Caballero. I'm the campus director over at the Brooklyn campus. As Kareem has stated, there's a lot to celebrate. And so I'll talk about some of the celebrations that we've had and successes that we've had at the Brooklyn campus, and then challenges as a LEA. So morning lineup, we are back to having in-person morning lineup. Morning lineup is not just an activity we do, it's a community building activity that we do every single day, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the day. We do a morning lineup song. We sing happy birthday in 3 languages of the scholar's choice, either French, English, Spanish, Stevie Wonder version, and we actually have American Sign Language. So kids get to choose which one of those 3 they want. We've incorporated Mindful Mondays led by our school counselor, where everybody does it's like a 5-minute Mindful Monday, breathing exercises, meditation, so on and so forth. Social Justice Wednesdays, and as Kareem said, Talent Fridays. Talent Fridays, here we have Grandmaster Jones with some of her martial arts students from Stokes School. Next slide. We're very, very happy to see parental participation increase back to, how it almost were at levels where it used to be. We had one of our partners, one of our parents and her business partners host ice cream, like back to school ice cream truck for everyone. And when I mean everyone, all of the parents, all of the kids, and all of the staff. So the ice cream truck came, and, it was a way to celebrate that we are back in person, live and in living color. Our in-person school tours are being led by Ana Maria Donato, and that's really, really wonderful because some of these parents have never, ever seen the inside of school. So it was great for them to really get a chance to come inside the building and see where the magic is happening, with their students every day. So this is a great opportunity for them to come in. One of our PTA members started the mentorship program, and that has been great. Mentorship program is for new parents to partner with a current parent, just to kind of, for them to show them the ropes. If they have any questions, who do I address this question to? Who do I address that question to? They had weekly meetings. So that has been a great thing that's kicked off earlier this year, and that has been very successful. Families as partners, we completed 84% of our family visits. Some of them were live, some of them were virtual, and some of them were in homes. The equity team kicked off the Smile campaign, again, just celebrating that we are back in person. And something that we've incorporated this year has been pre-K parent lunch helpers. Some of the parents come in during lunch and help out with the pre-K team, and they get to see get to interact with their kids. One of the downfalls is that when the parents leave, they come in from 12 to 12:30, the kid's like, wait a minute, where's my mommy? I want my mommy back. So we got to see if maybe we switch up a little and have parents, volunteer in classes where their children are not located in, so there's not crying afterwards. The Brooklyn PTA, I want to give a shout out to the Brooklyn PTA. They've been very, very active this year. They've had weekly meet and greets, grade level meet and greets, the first few weeks of school. They had an outdoor movie night a couple of weeks ago, and it was coupled by an and Pizza fundraiser. So if you went to go get your pizza from and Pizza and then come to the movie night, that happened on the Brooklyn campus. This past week, they had a sip and trivia. One of the local breweries here located in Brooklyn, they had a sip and trivia, and they're going to bring back the pancake breakfast in December. So that's something that a lot of people are looking forward to, having the pancake breakfast back live and in person. This is just goes to show what a collaboration between neighbors, local ANC, DDOT, and parent advocates can do. On Otis Street, earlier this year, we had speed bumps installed on Otis Street that parents have been asking for some type of traffic, slow down on Otis Street. And we finally were able to get these speed bumps. And that has helped a lot because there's been a lot of close calls, there's been accidents back there. And, the speed bumps help a lot. And we've also heard from DDOT that they're projected to also install speed bumps on Perry Street, which will also help slow down some of the traffic around the neighborhood. So that's big ups to everyone. We've partnered with the DC Reads program. DC Reads program is led by our student support coordinator. And the folks who provide the service are Catholic University students through the Office of Ministry of Service and Justice. And, the student support coordinator has identified students that can use some support in reading. So these students from Catholic University come in several times a week and work with students either in before care or in the after school program to provide support for some of these students. And I think there's about, I would say probably like 15 students who are participating in it right now, which is great. It provides great support, Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanic Heritage Month was a great success. Every day we had, music happening every day at the front door. We put flags up throughout the school. It was great to see our staff dressed in their, in their cultural attire. That was a great thing to see. We had different morning presentations throughout the celebration. And then we had a very big celebration at the end where students had, different stations where they had art. There's food tasting, dance, they were learning different salsa, merengue, macarena, all kinds of stuff. And it was just a day-long celebration. The weather was perfect for that. It was outdoors. And it's a great way for students to see, how we celebrate different cultures at our school. This was amazing. We had our very first indoor assembly in over 2 years, and we kicked it off with the Honorable Charles Bolden. Charles Bolden is an astronaut, former astronaut. He is the first African-American administrator for NASA. Unfortunately, he's the only, the only African-American, only non-white male to run NASA. And he was just incredible. He kept the kids so engaged, and he gave them real life. He told them how fast he was traveling. I think it was like 11,000 miles per hour, and yeah, it was fast. And every minute and a half he would orbit Earth. That was pretty fast. And he, he's the one that his mission was the one to put the Hubble telescope up in space. And he said it funny to the kids. He's like, if you want to see my mode of transportation, go out to Dulles Airport and you'll see my spaceship there. It's I think it's whatever space shuttle's out there in Dulles at the Air and Space Museum out in Dulles. So that's his personal, he's the last one to fly that. So we had student government elections. We had elections on election day, November 8th. And, the kids were campaigning. They gave wonderful speeches. The students, every student in grades 1st through 5th voted on a computer. They got to pick exactly the same way we do for adult elections. And they elected a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and then each class elected their representatives. And they're being sworn in this Thursday by the newly elected Ward 5 Councilman, Zachary Parker. That takes place this Thursday. So that's a big treat for us. Now, with all of these successes, there are also some challenges. Space inside the building, it's a real big challenge. We have, like, I'm sharing an office now with someone. Our executive director actually doesn't have an office at the Brooklyn campus. The conference room is, we used to have 2 conference rooms, but now the kitchen is using one of the conference room. And just pull out space for some of our service providers to provide some of the services, our OT and PT and stuff like that. At both campuses, pretty challenging. Next year, we'll have 1 more grade at the East End campus. And that's going to be a challenge. Another challenge this year has been the no shots, no school. It's an unfunded mandate that we have to comply with, but luckily with our partners at OSSI, Department of Health, and Children's Hospital, we've been able to, we've been able to work through that a little. There's been bumps here and there, but it's been a challenge. But I think we're at a point where we're starting to see some improvement on that. Excuse me, my computer says it's about to restart. Sorry, give me a second. Sustainable staffing. Historically, as Ms. Crean said, the social expectation are that school staff work mainly from a sense of mission, so that a clock doesn't really dictate all the work they do. We know that teachers and staff and operations work around the clock to try to prepare a lesson plan for students, and that's always been like an expectation in this field. But I think that with what we've been through in the last couple of years, folks just don't have the bandwidth. Teachers are ready to leave at 4 and not think about school anymore. And just for their, social and emotional well-being, they have to disconnect. And we are encouraging them to, we really are encouraging them, to follow our 3 school rules. It's more important now than ever before to really take care of yourself, physically, emotionally, mentally, in some cases spiritually, in order for you to be able to take care of others in the community. Something that I didn't put on here, it's maybe how we can improve in communication to parents and some of the things that we do. There's been in a couple of classes, there've been a couple of allegations of bullying and stuff like that, and I think that we need to communicate better on exactly, to define bullying. There's bullying and then there's misbehavior, and then there's very much appropriate, misbehavior. If you look at a kid's developmental capacity, some of the things that you do is that's actually very appropriate for this age. But I think we probably need to do a better job at communicating what is bullying, what is not bullying, and exactly what are the steps that we're taking to mitigate the bullying that has actually taken place. We are having a meeting with parents this week, and then later in the week, I think our school counselor, our school counselor and dean of students and social worker are leading, is it bullying? They're leading a workshop on is it bullying? And it's been brought to our attention also that the bullying policy that is on our website is outdated. So we need to update that. We'll be working on that soon. So how do we support our staff through all this with all these challenges? The East End has the Unicorn Squad, and the Brooklyn has the Brooklyn Butterfly Squad. And we make sure we celebrate our staff. We celebrate our staff. Earlier this week, we had a couple of, we had 4. We had 4 massage therapists come in and do 15-minute back rubs on our staff, and every single slot was taken. Every single slot was taken. They're like, hey, could this be like a once a month thing? And I'm like, I wish it could, but but it can't. We have First Fridays for our staff, like a special breakfast for our staff every first Friday of the month. We're going to start, Kareem, myself, and Maribel are going to start grade level listening sessions. And we want to do a grade level so we can just have a honest conversation with some of our staff, with all of our staff, actually. We're going to do grade levels, we're going to do operations, and I'm going to also do an administrative one. Just to listen, see what's going well and what needs improving, because those are the times where we really have those heart-to-heart talks where they can just speak freely on things that aren't going well that we might not see, as we're walking throughout the building or sitting in our office or having meetings, stuff like that. So we want to make sure that they are being heard. Is that it? Is there more? I think that's it. And if anyone has any questions, now Kareem has to take his daughter driving test.
Yep,
If anyone has any questions.
my youngest is about to take her DC driver's license test, so I'm going to have to hop off.
Yeah.
But if there are questions that Bobby isn't able to get to, please reach out by email.
Thank you, Abdul. Bobby, I do have a question on the events that you mentioned, especially the pancake breakfast. Can you make sure you send all the event dates to the board members?
Yes.
So we're aware of them. Thank you.
Yeah, like swearing in ceremony and all of.
Yeah, I think you mentioned you were bringing back the pancake breakfast this year. So curious of that December date.
Yes, so the PTA, they just got that okayed, so that's going to happen that at the last PTA meeting. So I believe it's December 10th, but I will share with you an events calendar of the, I can share with you, or Ms. Moore can share with you an events calendar that we have. The PTA pancake breakfast is not on there, so there are certain events, but yes, we'll definitely make sure that you guys get all of the events.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Bobby, this is Adina. I'm not on camera, so I just wanted to say who's speaking. Thank you for that report. You obviously listed out many of the successes and the challenges. I'm just curious, given that this was the first year in a couple of years where school's been back in full swing in person, like what is your just general assessment of how kids, how kids kind of re-entered in this phase? Like, do you feel like, for most kids, it was kind of easy to transition back in, or I'm just curious in like your general assessment of what the spirit of the school has been, especially for the kids.
So I think it's probably twofold. One, a lot of people are happy. Parents, staff, and students are happy to be back in person. We see a lot of happy faces. We see a lot of, excitement to be back doing the things that we do. There's a narrative that the pandemic is over, and it's not. Folks are still dealing with a lot. We had we lost staff members. Our staff members lost family members. Kids got sick. Still dealing with still dealing with a lot of like mental health, among our staff and parents, and it's not easy. And some of our kids, and I don't have any data on this right now, but anecdotally, I see that developmentally, kids are a little, they spend 2 years indoors with their family, not being able to interact with their peers. So we see some of the like the social skills need to be taught, and they will be taught, and we're doing the right thing, but they're a little, I think, behind a little. Like when it comes to conflict resolution, some of the kids, like, let's say a second grader would know exactly what to do, but now it's like, I'm going to do this instead. It's like, well, and then you got to just teach and reteach and continue to teach, so the social skills, I think, on some of our kids are lacking a little, but, we continue to do all this great stuff, and I think and work with them, it'll continue to grow.
Okay, thank you. And I imagine that, that times are still kind of tough. So I just want to say out loud to just express appreciation for everything that you and school leadership and staff have done to try to ensure that the environment resets as best it can, given some of the ongoing challenges. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate those words, because not all the words we get are of appreciation. So every time we do get appreciated, folks appreciating us. We really, really appreciate those words. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. My name is Kira Orr. I'm not on the camera, but my picture is the one with the bright red hair there. I wanted to ask a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Number one, in regards to the no shots, no school thing that you had mentioned and brought up, and for some of those challenges, could you describe a little bit more in depth about what exactly those challenges are and how that is impacting school and the students in general?
Yes, so the city council had set like a hard date to if students aren't up to date on their shots, that they can't be in school, and on their immunizations. I think so something didn't affect us was the COVID shot that I think it's 12 and up. They gave a date like in late September, then in October, then December, now it's somewhere in January. There are new systems in place. We have a new system we're using, Power School. And I think OSSI and Children's are also using a new system, and it's kind of hard for the systems to talk. So, like if we send something in saying, hey, this kid has his immunizations, it might not be recorded on their end saying, so when we have a list of like 80 kids saying that they're out of compliance, it might only be like 12 kids on that list that are actually out of compliance, except that the system, there's something, not, I guess the systems are new and they're not really talking to each other that well.
Right.
But again, we've been working a lot with Department of Health, OSSI, and Children's Hospital to find solutions. So
when those students, if they're not able to be in school, how are they getting their education?
So we're not putting any students out yet. I wanted to make sure before the letters, were sent out that they were accurate. So we're probably going to send our first set of letters out next week, because we finally are in a place where we have all of the information and accurate information on who is out of compliance. We'll send the letters to those parents, and they have 20 school days to get compliant, or else, then they're put out. So 20 school days. If we send it out next week, they have until we get back in January. So, and then we also are partnering with Children's, and, to show them, to let them know that there are immunization workshops and stuff like that where they can go. And I think East End is doing something like with Maya Angelou, where they're doing an immunization, fair. So
great. Thank you. That's helpful. And then so the second thing that I wanted to sort of touch on was you talked about the grade level, I guess, listening meetings.
Yes.
Is there any way that we could sort of get any of that information or the feedback or data that comes out of those conversations?
Absolutely.
To help us to get a better sense of sort of what the staff, what they're feeling in general about their terms of their mental health and support or needs, in case there are ways that we would sort of be able to brainstorm and assist.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that would be excellent. I would love some support on that. So listening sessions, we used to have them, I think the last one we had was maybe like 4 years ago. Yep. Where myself, Ms. Bryant, Ms. Cortez would sit with the whole staff and just talk. But I think that having it intimately with the grade level teams, because there are different challenges at each grade level. A grade level, like a fifth grade level, might have very, very different challenges than our pre-K, team.
Yep.
So this is a chance for us to just intimately hear what is happening and try to come up with, with solutions to make it better. So we hear the good, they're like we hear the positive, and we hear needs of improvement. So this is so once I get all the information, I will definitely share.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, Bobby, it's Hoyt. Couple questions for you. The first one, just piggybacking off of what Kira asked. I think when you send those letters out, is it understood that the event that East End is happening is going to be having for the clinic, the pediatric clinic and immunization activities? Is it clear that that's happening within the 20 days, 20 school days that the letter is given?
I'm not certain on the date. Let me ask. I'll ask Kareem and get back to you on that.
Okay, but if it might be a nice thing to reference in the letter if it is. It's of course it doesn't have to be, right? It's the parent's responsibility to take care of that.
Yeah.
It might be-
On the letter itself, that there are like there are links to free clinics.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second there?
Sure.
Just to follow up on that, Hoyt. So our experience in Montgomery County is that although there are free clinics provided around the county, there's sometimes a wait between 6 and 8 weeks for an actual appointment. And so that really puts the kids outside of that 20-day period. So some schools have adopted a policy whereby so long as they have an appointment within that period of time, I understand that DC is a little different. So to your point, Hoyt, it's great for us to share, for example, all the clinics that are available in DC that are free and provide these immunizations if they can't attend the one that East End will be hosting. However, I just think it's important for everyone to recognize that even though we talk about free clinics, they're often only between the hours of like 9 and 3, and then they're booked for 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm not sure if that's the case in DC like it is in Maryland in some places, but I just want to make sure everyone's aware that this is a real challenge for parents.
thank you for bringing that up, Tracy. Yes. So if a parent can show us that they have an appointment, we're not putting them out. Honestly, it's an honor system. You know, I did speak. There was a training that I went to, and I asked a question. I'm like, so what happens if we don't put kids out? You know, because when you look at the kids being put out, it's mostly Black and brown kids. So that's an inequity right there in itself. So I asked, what's the, you know, if we don't put them out, what's the consequence? And one of the attorneys, like, I wish you wouldn't ask that because it doesn't seem like there is one. It's just an honor system to have these kids, you know, up to date. Of course, the consequence is that, you know, they can get other folks sick if they're not, you know, don't have their vaccines up to date, but, you know, no actual consequence to like saying we're going to fine you if you know you're not up to date or anything like that. But with that said, we are still working with parents and students to make sure that they are safe and get the help and support they need.
Bobby, so when I look at this is a really general question. When I look at the news and read the little periodicals that I read, there's a big discussion, and I think it's fair to say it's a national discussion about how when the kids are coming back to school, that they're because of the 2 years we spent in this pandemic and learning from home, that some of them are not more than some of them are nationally are behind in grade level. If we're seeing any, I don't know if we're seeing any of that in the schools, and if so, how are we thinking about addressing that?
Yeah, no, there's definitely been like a decline, like when you look at the standardized tests like PARC and stuff like that, there's been a decline. But it's one of those things where of course there's going to be a decline. You know, they were at home. Sitting in front of a computer is not the best way to teach a child. So, and it's going to take several years. It's going to take, you know, I think that it's been estimated it takes about 5 years to overcome some of the interruption that has taken place, you know, over the last couple of years. And it's not just academically, but it's social emotional with the students to make sure that, you know, so we're definitely keeping an eye on that. Our ILT, our instructional leadership team, looks at data all the time, and you know they're working under. They have different programs that they're doing to make sure that students are receiving the services that they need. And again, it's not going to happen overnight. Like, you know, and it's not over, you know. Some parents that lost their jobs still don't have a job, or have other types of jobs. Some folks lost housing, some folks lost family members, some folks, so it's a lot to unpack there, but we're working and know that we have an understanding that it's going to take several years to get back to what folks are saying we are now, back to normal.
Yeah. And the last thing I had, Bobby, was that I understand that you are that I was listening earlier about both the need for more space at East End and Brookline. Can you send us just a quick summary bullet point just of what the programmatic space is and the estimated square feet you're looking to reach the programmatic space by campus?
Like you want like a blueprint kind of, or
no, just a written bullet point description, like 2 classrooms at 500 square foot apiece.
Could I interrupt there?
Sure.
Bobby, I think that operations probably has that information.
Yeah, they do. I can get that to you.
Yeah, I won't expect this to be any more than 4 or 5 bullet points. Just clearly in terms of what I'm understanding the order of magnitude of what the space issue is.
Thank you. I'll send that to you.
Can I just say one last thing? I think it's really, I'm actually glad, Mr. Bobby, that you've a couple of times mentioned and kind of reminded us of the far-reaching impacts of the pandemic, right? Like things like housing, loss of employment, loss of income. I just think that just in terms of the national discourse, that is a part of the conversation that usually gets left out. And I understand that people, and specifically in the context of this conversation, parents, everyone's trying to figure it out themselves, but oftentimes I think forget about some of those other impacts that you've mentioned. And maybe for a parking lot or discussion at another time, but I do think that I think that it's important for the school community to be reminded of some of those impacts, especially as you all respond to concerns from parents and the things that are being brought up, maybe folks being unhappy about certain things. I just think it's important for that part to continue to be a part of the overall message about what some of the challenges are, because if you're not experiencing those challenges yourself as a parent or a family, you're probably not thinking about those other things that other families are dealing with as we continue to grapple with the negative impacts of the pandemic. So I just wanted to name that, and perhaps maybe in some future school communication that there could be a way to weave that in, just to remind people of some of these longer term negative impacts and impacts that maybe not everyone is experiencing, but that presumably a lot of people still are. So thank you for bringing that up. And I hope that that's something that can be woven into future communication, just to remind folks about like some of these impacts are pretty tremendous for families.
Thank you.
I agree, Medina. I think they all, they're all intertwined. They all connect, and ultimately they all impact, children's ability to just learn and be safe, and mature and grow. Bobby, I was thinking about one of the biggest challenges I think that folks don't realize is in that 2-year gap is the how it has negatively impact sort of the maturation or development emotionally and socially for kids. I don't know how you all are assessing that. And to get that data, obviously for academic gaps or delays, you can use standardized testing data to give you some feedback, but just, I don't know, maybe how are you all looking at some of the, I guess, as they're growing and developing and maturing and behind, are the 5th graders making the decisions that 5th graders should be making, or they're making them on the 3rd grade level? I don't know how you assess that and to be able to address it appropriately. And perhaps, you're not the person to answer that, and I'm not sure, but I know it sounds like you got the partnerships with DBH, which is great, and other folks there, which is helpful. And I think also that probably would help parents to that type of communication of, helpful resources of these are instances that you may see, and here's how you can help and to support.
Yes, our behavioral health team, they're definitely, they do have some numbers, but again, it's kind of early right now. I know that there has been an increase in numbers with our school counselor and social worker. They do see a few more kids than they have in the past. Yeah, I don't know that I'm the right one to answer that question, but there is, we're definitely working with partners outside of school, because we know there is a need. We know there's a need, but don't have hard numbers right now, but we know there's a need for that.
Oh, thank you. A lot of what you shared I found very helpful and good, and beneficial. So thank you so much.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Caballero? Going once? No, go ahead, Bobby.
I was gonna say, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm about to go do my Saturday morning routines with my son, so.
No worries. Well, let me just make sure, so that doesn't sound like there's any more questions for Bobby, is that correct? All right, Bobby, thank you again. You and Kareem are doing a really strong job at both the campuses, and we appreciate your efforts and all your blood, sweat, and tears that you all are putting into this. Clearly, you all are very dedicated to it, and that's what we need. It's been especially trying, I know, these last couple of years, and I'm sure you were looking forward to getting back to a new normal, and we are too. I love the idea that Amy kind of put out there about getting us a copy of the calendar of events for the school year. Hopefully the board, we can have a little discussion later on about how some of us can attend that throughout the year, just to kind of reintegrate our presence with the actual school communities on their campus. Bobby, I think that you might be joining us a little bit later in the afternoon. I mean, in the morning as well.
I think I'm, Ms. Moore, am I? I think I might be.
No, don't think you, to my knowledge, you're not.
Well,
Okay.
I think he may for the closed session a little bit, Ms. Moore.
I don't think we've made that request because Mr. Bobby, if you recall, I said that Mr. Bobby had family obligations in the afternoon. But I think what I said was that I would do that. I would stand in for Mr. Bobby.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
thank you very much, Bobby. Have a great day.
Have a good weekend, y'all. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, so that will conclude the campus update portion of our board meeting today. The next portion is
Excuse me, Hoyt, if you'll give me just a second to turn off the recording, okay?
we're going to committee reports though next, Ms.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No
Okay.
worries. No worries.
Okay. Thank you.
So anyone have any questions about that, the campus updates? Okay. All right, so the next.
I don't have, the only question I have, Hoyt, is, and I wasn't sure, I didn't think it was a question suited for Mr. Bobby and Mr. Kareem, but,
Yeah.
it would be good to know like what some of the forward thinking is about, or if there are any plans in place for the scenario in which, the pandemic kind of rears its head in the way that it did in the past couple of years. I mean, because we're already seeing reports of cases on the rise. And so I just, I don't know when that conversation or report should or can happen, but I do think it would be good to know, and I'm assuming that the school community probably would too, to know like what plans are in place
Yeah,
what those plans look like to be able to flip that switch back on in the
Yeah.
event that, DC, the country, whatever, finds itself in a similar situation this
Yeah.
winter as it has in the past couple of years.
yeah,
I think I can speak to that for just a little bit. The school, starting 2.5 years ago, started making all sorts of contingency plans about operations. And there are a number of them that are available. Perhaps none of them will be used. Perhaps what they have may have to be adjusted depending on what the challenge may be, if there's a challenge, but it is something that has been addressed.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't think there is a template for everything that's possible, but there are plans for possibilities, if that makes sense.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Ms. Moore, what form is that in? Those, it sounds like those are documented files and somebody on a shared
It's probably documented in leadership staff notes. I'm not sure that there is, again, I was saying, I don't think that there is a,
Yeah,
like a written plan, but there are, well, first of all, the school has gone through almost everything it could go through. So, so there's a roadmap out there of what is possible. Yeah.
I do recall Erica sharing with me in the recent past that they were thinking about, the school was thinking about kind of a documenting exactly what was described here into kind of form, and potentially looking at how they could formalize it or into a document that could be referenced for in the future for events like this. So I know that she had some she identified some ideas that she had and some third-party sources that she was considering as well. So it might be good just to put this down as a parking lot item and kind of follow up on it, back in January. Does that make sense, Adina?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and I think also with whatever was on the kind of communications calendar for the school. I mean, I know a lot of folks don't, understandably do not pay a whole lot of attention to, COVID rates and that kind of thing. But it might be worth considering even going into the winter season to just kind of, send a reminder to the school community about the fact that the pandemic is still with us, and that, if we're starting to see an increase in or something, just so that folks don't feel blindsided if there is a scenario in which things have to, shift again.
I think I'm not going to speak for Caroline, our communications manager, but I do know that the school gets all sorts of updates from the city, and perhaps that can be incorporated in the information that goes out weekly to parents.
Okay.
I get it. I get the information, and I get it from several jurisdictions around here. So,
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's available.
Yeah.
It's available, and perhaps we can capture it and send it out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, folks, anything else? Okay, what we're going to do next, it is just a little before 12:45. I'm sorry, 10:40. It's a little before 10.
I was going to be like, what?
Yeah, my daylight savings time clock was a little different for you guys. Yeah, so it's all we're doing pretty well on time. We're going to transition to the committee reports now. I'll ask Carlos to wait for this report. We've got scheduled one for the Finance Committee, one for the Academic Excellence Committee, one for the Development Committee, and one for the Governance Committee. Couple of things I'll say before we get started. So we've got one is that for the Finance Committee, before we're going to start off with that, and at the top of that, there's some administrative items, one administrative item to take care of there. So up until I've been serving as the chair of the board and have been also co-chair, also been serving interim as continuing interimly as the treasurer, with the understanding, and this was a discussion the board had last school year a couple times as well. So I think everyone's pretty well versed in it, but if you're not, let me know and I can give you some additional background. But I agreed to serve as the interim chair until we found a permanent chair interim treasurer, until we found a permanent treasurer. Carlos Bonner had been recommended as that person for the treasurer. As you know, he's been on the finance committee for some time as well. I agreed to act as the interim treasurer until Carlos was ready to assume the role full-time, assume the role as a permanent treasurer. So he has that capacity now. And I think what I'd like to do at this point is to put that out to take up that issue again where we would nominate Carlos Bonner to become the chair, to then transition to becoming the chair. I'm sorry, the chair of the finance committee, and that will require a vote by the board. So helpful everyone recollects those conversations, but if they're not, please raise your hand and let me know. Okay, I will take that silence as everyone's on board with that. Ms. Moore, you're shaking your head now.
It requires a vote.
Yeah.
No, I know, we're going to vote on it. Yeah, we're going to vote on it.
Okay. I think we can, Ms. Moore, can we vote on that in closed session and come back to report out?
It is, that topic is not covered, I don't believe, in what we said we would discuss in closed session.
Oh, okay.
We can defer.
Because we typically vote on board, I guess, appointments or actions in closed session, but never voted on officer positions in open session, I don't believe. But Tracy, do you recall?
I don't.
Apologies, I was on mute. I think that we need to maybe put this on the agenda to vote on. And I believe that we will be doing it in the closed session. Another closed session.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I'm sure Carlos, are you okay with that?
I'm totally fine with that. As well as as a member of the finance committee, I think I can still give the finance report, even though I'm not the official treasurer, but if it needs to be given.
Absolutely, you can give the report. And thank you, by the way, for agreeing to step up.
Okay. So I am comfortable with the roadmap for today.
So so before we dive into that, Carlos, for the finance committee and any other committee, so and I'll just, the other part I wanted to discuss before we dive into the details of the committee was that we had over this the committee, each of the committee has, as you all, the committee chairs are aware well of, and I'm sure their members are as of now as well, is that they've gone through an exercise. Today we'll be reviewing those roadmap items that the committees have identified the priorities they would like to focus on for this upcoming school year. This current school year. So those items you should have access through that summary on the live binder. So that is one thing that will each of the committees will definitely walk through and give other folks an idea and ask some time to comment on if they like. I think that the focus should be on the summary of the descriptions. I think we're all comfortable with the timelines, but I'm not. But that's not a necessary item to review in terms of identifying the target dates. Those may or may not be the ones that we actually wind up with, but they are. But I think the focus should definitely be on just the description, the high level description of the initiative that each of the committees will have identified that they wanted to focus on. Okay. And with that, any questions? Any questions on what I said so far? Okay, so we will postpone the vote for the treasurer for the closed meeting, and we'll put that on the agenda for our next item for our next board meeting. And from that, we'll transition over to the committee reports. All right, so why don't we go in order that's here. Carlos, I'll let you kick off the one with the finance committee.
Yes, so the finance committee, there's a couple items. As you guys know, our objectives this year are to really, some key objectives are to work with the school based upon today's interest rate environments, looking at how the facilities are financed, primarily the interest rate swap, and making sure that our financial budgets and projections that we are properly aligned with the current interest rate environment and any future. So we're going to engage with Truist Bank holistically and our other lenders just to make sure we're properly planning. So that is a big initiative we're going to take on this year. As well as you heard Mr. Bobby mention, our facilities holistically, from an administrative standpoint, the leases that are in place, specifically at the East End campus, and then as well as the expansion needs. It was good in the sense to hear, but not good to hear that some of the space constraints at the Brooklyn campus. So we should definitely schedule a time to meet with the administrative team for both campuses and get some of that direct feedback, Hoyt, as you requested, and so that we can work with them to properly come up with the plan. And that was also an objective. And then another initiative is for the expansion of the middle school. We want to put together, have some focus on that and look at it from a feasibility and timing. And I think next in the spring, be able to have some type of report outline of where we think things potentially could head. So I just wanted to give that update of what the finance committee's objectives are. At this time, we are also preparing with our external accounting, the audit that is due by December 15th. The accounting team and the staff are working diligently to get that finalized. And so the goal is to have the documentation done by right after Thanksgiving. And we will want to convene a special meeting with the board here to review and vote on the acceptance of that audit report, as there is a deadline to have it into the state board by December 15th. The goal would be to submit it prior to that date. And so I would just convey to the board, be on the lookout for some emails in the next upcoming week, asking you all to schedule a special meeting to review and approve the audit report that is to come. Be it that we don't have any financials to present, that is my report, and I'm open for questions. Now, you know, if you give me an opportunity to speak, I'll keep speaking. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, no, thank you, Carlos. Next up, we have the Academic Excellence Committee. Would the chair of that like to?
Can you guys just come back and next one go and I'll go after that. I got to deal with something here at the house.
Okay, no worries. Why don't we move to the Development Committee then? Adina?
Hi. Okay, so excuse me. Really, this is just going to be a verbal report. Nothing to present at this time. But as I shared with Hoyt and Amy a few days ago, I think it was, really, this is the first time I think that the board has had like a really formalized development committee. So, just want to kind of set the context here for everyone that this is really a kind of building year for the development committee. I'm happy to report that we have been meeting. I think to date we have had this calendar year, have had a handful of meetings, some very productive meetings where we've essentially discussed what some of the building blocks, the building blocks that are needed to really establish this committee. And part of that work has been, working very closely with and meeting with Ms. Moore and Erica, and more recently with Heather Harding to, really map out what some of the big kind of programmatic administrative buckets are that could use financial support. And really with the development committee, at least one of my primary focuses is to put together a strategic plan that will get us to a place where we can effectively engage private major donations for the school. I mean, the school, obviously has done a really great job of being able to secure funding to successfully operate the school over the past 25 years. And I think that this is a really, this is an ideal time for us to leverage the school's success and kind of lifespan and journey to begin attracting some major gifts to support many of the things that we've been talking about, things like school expansion, additional support for staff and administration, programs like the International Studies Tours, some environmental justice things. So, there are a number of big projects that could use some additional funding. And I just think that the Stokes network, which is something that we did talk about, Hoyt, Amy, and I, when we met a few days ago, is that, the school is now a network, right? I mean, it's not just one campus, there are two campuses with plans to expand to a middle school. So now we're talking about a network. And so I think that, now is a good time for us to, put together a strategic development plan to be able to see many of these plans come to fruition. So in terms of just more tactical things that we have planned, again, just naming that there's a lot of building that's going on here, but we have identified a few things that we're going to be working on and hopefully can at least have drafts by the end of the year. One is just a central proposal. So really just like focusing on collateral materials that will equip us with what we need to actually be able to engage some of these foundations and other private donors that are definitely giving funds to other public charter school networks in the city. So we're going to be working on developing a central proposal. We also have a working kind of strategic plan for development efforts that's been drafted and it's a working document. And we also, for the past several months, I've been putting together a target list of private donors that I think makes sense for the type of projects and efforts that are going to require a substantial amount of funding moving forward. So that's kind of where we are. You know, like I said, I mean, I just feel like I want to try. I'm going to take every opportunity I can in these meetings to set expectations about where things are with the development committee, which is that, you know, this is the first year, so there are a lot of you know, bricks that we need to lay foundationally before we actually kind of hit the ground running. But that's where things are. And I guess the last thing that I'll say is that, you know, I also hopefully will be able to add an additional member to the committee, preferably someone who has really strong fundraising and development experience for next year. So that is where we are. Does anyone have any questions? Ms. Moore, did I leave anything out? Okay.
No, I think you covered it all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any questions? Great.
Thank you, Dina. No, I think you got it. I think you hit a lot of the nail on the head, and got to have a good view on that. It's a lot of foundational stuff that we're putting in place this year. So very much a building year from the infrastructure standpoint.
Yeah.
Let's go to the governance committee.
Hello, this is Amy. Just a few notes, not much to report here, but the governance committee will be developing an onboarding package for potential new board members. We want really to have just that snapshot that we can share who is Stokes to those who might be interested in being potential board members. This would include a little bit of history about the school, also the description of our various board committees that are available and how the board generally operates. So we hope to capture that 1 or 2 page document so we can really look at resources in the DC area to find board members that can support our goals moving forward. Also, we hope to recruit some new board members by the end of school year 2022-23. And as Adina just mentioned, we want to target board members with development experience. We need support for that, for our development committee. And so we are going to look at that. We also want to increase the participation of members by finding individuals who are willing to learn more about Stokes, serve on our committees, our board committees, so we can get to know them and they get to assist us in our committees, because as Adina mentioned, some of our committees are extremely small, and in order to accomplish their goals are going to need support by non-board members, but members to support those committees. Also, the governance committee will be updating our bylaws. There's a few elements of our current bylaws that we need to look at and determine relevant updates. And Hoyt wanted me to mention that this is not a governance committee task, but our third-party consultant will be doing our annual board performance assessment. So that more information should be coming soon on that, as well as I believe Hoyt will be having that third-party consultant work on a crisis management plan for the school. So those are our immediate tasks ahead of us. Any questions?
I do, Amy. I have a question.
Yeah.
To what extent have we, or do we plan to do a comprehensive needs assessment for board skills and kind of share that with the rest of the board so that we're aware of what kind of talent we need to be on the lookout for in terms of our colleagues and friends? So beyond kind of the developmental, what are the other areas of functioning that can be beefed up or developed and or identified, so that we all kind of know what the game plan is and who to target within our own networks.
Yes, and we can definitely, we will look at that, Anton, and evaluate. Last year, we did do a board assessment, but I know we've added both yourself and board member Kira to the mix since our last assessment. So we'll look into doing an updated assessment so we can capture both your skills that you add to the board as well as Kira, and make sure we're continuing to target our current board needs.
So so that's a good question too, Anton. I'll piggyback off of Amy. I think that, prior to the pandemic, or very early into the pandemic, the board had a third party come through and kind of and assess part of what you're talking about. They assessed other areas of performance and kind of did a strength, weakness, opportunities, threat assessment. Threat's probably not the best word, but it's a strength, weakness, opportunity, challenges. Kind of survey for each board, but from my perspective, something what you said about that kind of comprehensive kind of gap analysis would probably fall right into their bailiwick. I can't remember the person's name, but they contacted each of us and has a specific set of questions. So that's something that I would envision would be part of that.
Yeah, the contractor was Education Board Partners.
Okay. Yeah. I think that is. Yep. I think that's so that's something that that would be an item to follow up in. But I think your point too, if I heard right, Anton, is also a timing question, initial question about timing. Like, as we're going to recruit we have to go recruiting 3 new folks from the board. Will we have that done, that assessment done before we start the recruitment process, so we know what's hosted, so that we can include that gap analysis into the characteristics of the folks that we're looking to recruit for the board. Did I get that right?
Yes, great. Yes, yep. Thanks, Wade. Thanks, Amy. Yep.
That should definitely go on like points of discussion for going forward. That time thing. Does that make sense, Amy?
Yes. Any other questions, Hoyt?
I think that's all I have. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
What else? Okay. I think we are ready to, we've gone through the finance, the development, and government. Are we ready to swing back to the academic excellence?
It looks like we lost Kira. I don't see her currently on the screen.
Okay. Something must have happened. Hold on one second. Let me see if I got any communication from her. Okay. No, I don't. So
Excuse me, Hoyt, do you want to read the items that are on the report here of each committee's plan?
I was just about to go through that. Yep.
Okay.
I was just about to say that. You're reading my mind, Ms. Moore. So
I try.
So what I'll do is I'll give a good faith effort to try to capture some of the priority items that the Academic Excellence Committee has submitted in terms of their areas of focus for the school year. First and foremost, so one of them was reviewing the one of the school's priorities of looking into and potentially moving forward with an the equitable access priority initiative that sponsored by the District of Columbia. That was it was a program with which charter schools could opt in to understand, to enroll at-risk students. So this was something that was mentioned by the leadership, and so I think so the Academic Excellence Committee under their belt would look into that aspect and understand that try to understand the impacts that might have on the school, so that we can make the board can make an informed decision. That does require board approval from as part of the application itself. Another item is this school alumni community partnership, and really exploring more opportunities where we can build those partnerships with the schools, build the partnerships with the communities around the schools, with the alumni, and really an effort to really as an effort to supplement the efforts that the school is currently doing to kind of close that gap that Bobby and has spoke about, and that Kareem had alluded to, about the gap that may be growing from an academic performance standpoint as a result of coming out of the COVID in the last 2 years of in-home learning and those and the kind of the consequences of not being able to be in school and where you get the full breadth of the academic experience. So that is something, that's an initiative that the Academic Excellence Committee wants to kind of pursue, how the community and the partnerships from the community and alumni can help kind of bridge any gaps that were identified from that experience, this experience. And finally, an item that focused on the DC Wellbeing Data Project. This was an item that was definitely talked about, definitely mentioned in our strategic plan that was developed just over 4 years ago. And that's really an effort to acquire more information about the framework of physical activity and nutrition targets, and kind of analyze the data around that to see how that correlates to the academic growth, and where that opportunities for enhancing that might lie. Yes, so that's that. Those are the initiatives. But those are some of the majority. Those are the initiatives of the Academic Excellence Committee to focus on for this current school year. I got a question already, Crystal?
Not a question, but I wanted to add, we did have a meeting since we had our last meeting as board trustees.
Okay.
So we had Academic Excellence Committee meeting, and then we also included, it was 2 employees from the school. One was Julia, who does like the analysis of the data. And I forget the other person's name off the top of my head, but it was like more of an introductory session. So they're willing to work with us, because when we had our session at the retreat, it was more or less, there's a lot of data that was being discussed, and we needed to dive deeper into it.
Okay.
So yeah, wanted to add that to it.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any other questions? I can't promise I'll be able to answer them all, but Crystal might be able to help.
I don't have a question, but I'm switching to my phone. So whoever is monitoring this, can you just check for me in the waiting room?
Ms. Moore?
Oh, Miss Moore, I'm about to drop and join from my phone.
Okay.
If you don't mind just letting me back.
Okay, I'll look for you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I think that will conclude our committee reports. Ms. Moore,
Hoyt,
yes.
excuse me, Hoyt, would you like to give us a 5-minute break so I can set up for the next session?
Sure. So that's
maybe a 3-minute break.
okay. No,
Okay.
no problem at all. Why don't we say that, folks, and we'll come back. We'll check back in 3 minutes from now. Then it is now, I've got 11:14. All right. So we'll come back at 11:17.